Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner and to a Cardfight Vanguard deck profile. This is going to be a hopefully quick update. I say that, but I know this is going to probably be a 10-minute plus video, as I'm going to be talking about Nectar, in particular the updated Ahsha deck for post set 8. Bloom got a couple cards to work with out of this set and they're very good. They've allowed the deck to potentially break into tier 1, whether that happens remains to be seen, as Kagero is pretty popular among American players, and we also happen to like playing Link Joker, and those are two difficult matchups for us to face. But it is something that you can expect to see more play now, especially from long-time Nectar players. They will definitely be more confident taking this deck to an event or a team league or something, and I could see this being a very good deck to play in the third slot on a team. And why is this deck getting so much hype? Well, we'll get to that in a bit, but first I'll show you guys the deck list that I'm currently working with, and we'll just go from there. So, for the grade 3s, running, of course, your 4 copies of Ranunculus, Flower Maiden, Ahsha. With the addition of Verano from Fire's Collection, it's a lot easier to get her Stride Break skill off, which is clone a unit and then give it 2k power until end of turn. The GB2 skill almost never comes up, but the important thing about Ahsha is the name, because many of your best plays involve having a Ranunculus Vanguard. So I'm very curious to see what the new Ranunculus coming from the Tri-3 character booster does. And 4 copies of the new grade 3 from this set, Summer's Height Flower Maiden Marjuka. That's a really obscure name. She has 2 skills. The first one you don't really use. It's on Vanguard, which is once per turn, Soul Blast 1. When one of your units with the Bloom ability is targeted by one of your opponent's card effects, you get to draw a card. So it's a very nice defensive ability that also allows you to not get minused when your opponent's playing some kind of control deck and they blow up one of your cards. You get to at least get a card to your hand to try and replace the unit. It's okay. The important thing is her other skill, which is her Bloom ability, and that is when another copy of herself appears on board, you get to choose any other unit in play, and give that unit 3k power. But if the unit chosen for this effect is instead a Sunwheel Maiden Rani, which is the grade 2, then the chosen unit gets an additional ability, which is when this unit attack hits the Vanguard, you get to draw a card and Soul Charge 1. Now, remember people, Bloom abilities are a multi-trigger and they stack. And they trigger when you call a copy on top of a copy. So if you're able to get this skill off multiple times in a turn, which this deck is built to do, you get to get some pretty large columns, and you're going to be drawing cards and soul charging a lot. Like, it's very conceivable for this deck to get 7 cards in its hand outside of its triple drive on its first stride play. And I'll try and explain that combo if I have time left in the video. And then Marjuka's partner in crime is the aforementioned Sunwheel Maiden, Rani. So Rani has 2 skills. First one is her Bloom ability. So when another copy of herself appears on the board, you choose up to 5 copies of herself or Marjuka, and they all gain the ability of, this unit gets 1000 power for each unit with the Bloom ability. So it's a nice little pump to your board, and by the time you're doing most of your combos, you're going to have one of these in play, so you're going to call another one of these down, and you're going to just buff your guys by about 3 to 4k, sometimes 5. The important part about this card, though, is that while on the field and in the deck, she counts as Marjuka. So if you end up cloning Marjuka, you instead get to call out Rani, and because it's considered Marjuka in play, Marjuka will bloom, and you can use the effect on this thing, and therefore you get your draw. And as a result, these two are a pretty fearsome combo. And then after that, the rest of the deck is just more or less cards that allow you to get this combo off consistently. So you've got your 4 copies of Thuria, who can copy Marjuka or copy Rani, depending on what else is in play. And of course, she has the ability to bounce back to the hand during the start of your main phase if she manages to stay on board long enough, which hopefully she will. Of course, Marjuka Recursion should have a Ranunculus Vanguard, as does Flower Chamber Maiden Saliana, who I haven't played for quite some time, so quick refresh of her skill. She's the clever best clone for the deck, so when you call this thing, you have a Ranunculus Vanguard, Catalyst 1, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your other units, clone it, and then this unit gets 2000 extra power until end of turn. You're going to call whatever you're cloning on top of this thing, just so you can trigger Bloom skills, but it's just 2 more copies of that. And then rounding up the grade 2s, 2 Earth Element Pakor, because I don't like playing against Link Joker. So this thing will hopefully help me play out of that matchup, particularly against Chaos. Messiah is a slightly different story, but yeah, if they got the one card locked down, or they have two cards locked down, then I can at least call this thing, unlock something, and then clone it, and then unlock another thing, and then just go from there. Then for the grade 1s, for Bloom PGs, you can definitely make an argument for running the unflipping PG, as I have noticed I do burn a bit of counterblast with this deck, but it hasn't been enough to the point where I've wanted to drop these, as I do like the fact I can clone this and then bounce them back to my hand, and I have multiple PGs in hand. So, for Stride assists, it's a Stride deck, so obviously. And lastly, 4 copies of Maiden of Sweet Berry. So this is a promo card that I had to go a bit out of my way to get because we don't get promo cards here, but her ability is, GB1, choose up to one of your units other than herself, search your deck for a unit with the same name as that unit, call it to rearguard circle, and then shuffle this card into the deck. So it's just basically a Thuria / Saliana, except she doesn't burn any counterblast. In fact, her cost specifically says 0, so CB0. Yeah, that's a thing. And she helps you trigger bloom abilities. It's a really good card. It's one half of the Infinity Maiden combo, or it's part of the Infinity Maiden combo, which is actually playable here, although I don't know if people will play Infinity Maiden, because if you're playing an Infinity deck, then why are you playing Wiseman Fenrir? So, yeah, like, that deck more or less does the same thing that Infinity Maiden wants to do, but it does it a lot better. Anyway, so, yeah, just my quick thoughts on that. As you may notice, I'm only running 12 grade 1s, so there is a chance I might misride, but it hasn't happened so far, actually. If anything, I found myself misriding at trying to get the 3 more than anything else, and I'm running 8 grade 3s, which means, in theory, I shouldn't be misriding to 3, but here we are. Anyway, back to the rest of the deck. So, for the triggers, running 8 stands, in particular these 8, so Maiden of Daybreak and Cosmos and Elizabeth. Daybreak skill, for those who may not remember, is GB1, you choose one of your units, and then you give up to 2 units with the same name as that unit 5k power, then he shuffles herself back in the deck. So it's a stand trigger that goes back in the deck, which is very important, as this deck wants to go rearguard, Vanguard, and then stand back up its rearguards and then rearguard. Same for Lisbeth. Lisbeth allows you to, on Bloom, allows you to choose a normal unit from your drop zone, and you can shuffle any number of those back in the deck along with this card and draw cards. So the stand trigger goes back in the deck, and the important thing is that, unlike Japan, we have 4 copies of this card to work with, so you get to max out on this, and then whatever else you want for triggers. I've seen some decks run draw triggers. I might give that a shot, but right now I'm running 4 of the Ahsha crit, as I just like having that random bit of crit pressure, especially if they decide to no-guard my Vanguard after they've spent so much blocking my rearguard lanes, that I can just flip a crit and take them to 5 damage, and then on the next stride turn, they have to again block everything or else they die. And lastly, 4 heal triggers and 2 starters. You're not as reliant on cloning a starter and then starting your combos, but it's still nice to have the second starter in order to do that, especially if you don't happen to have the main stride combo. You can always just clone your starter and go from there. And I'm just going to take a quick moment to set aside my Thurias. No, not my Thurias, my Ronnies and my Marjukas, because again, in case I decide to do this combo tutorial thing. So, on to the G-Zone. So, first up, 4 copies of Flower Princess of we're going to call her Verano. Verano's skill, and this is a very good one, is when she appears on Vanguard Circle, you can Soul Blast 1, flip anything, choose a card from your hand and a card from your drop zone, shuffle them to the deck, and then you get to call up to 2 cards from your hand to the Guardian to rear guard. Then, for each face-up copy of this card in your G-Zone, you get to choose one of your units, clone it, and then the cloned unit gets the boost ability until end of turn. It's a bit of a mouthful, but she allows you to, A, cheat cards into play if you don't have any cards in board for Ahsha's clone skill, which is relevant versus control matchups, and she allows you to clone grade 2s and 3s while giving them the ability to boost, which is a part of some dangerous combos with this deck. So, it's very strong. You'll flip a copy for yourself the first time around, then you'll flip up a copy of Dream Spinning Ranonculus Ahsha for the second and third times. who is more or less ran for as something to flip so that you can use Glorious Bloom's effect to the full extent of her abilities. Glorious Bloom, of course, allows you to clone units, buff them up to huge power, and if you happen to have any unit with the same name as a unit on your Vanguard circle, either Ahsha herself or Thuria cloning Ahsha, or another card that has Ahsha's name, then she gets an extra crit for no reason, which is very nice. Again, just Vanguard pressure, especially if they don't think you are playing crits in the deck, then they have to guard this regardless. Then 2 copies of the new card, Flower Princess of Balmy Breeze, Ilmatar. Ilmatar's skill is GB2, counter +1, flip a copy of herself face up, choose one of your units with the blue ability, and you get to draw a card. Okay. Then you choose up to 6 units with the same name as the unit chosen with this effect, and until the end of the turn, they all get the ability of when the unit attack hits the Vanguard, draw a card. So you give your units on hit pressure. Nice. And then our final ability is if you have 3 or more units with the blue ability, she gets a crit. So it's more crit pressure on the Vanguard circle, making it again that your opponent has to block this in addition to your rearguard lanes, which should hopefully be pretty big and scary, and they all have the ability to draw cards. So I think you guys are starting to see the pattern of this deck. Make your rearguards big and give them on-hit draw skills so that you'll build up a large hand so that you can survive into the next turn, where you more or less either do it again or push for game with either of these guys. And lastly, once a breeze to round out the G units so that if my opponent tries to grade 2 game me, I can at least go into this. And most of my deck does not run off of counterblasts aside from Saliana and Ahsha, so I should be able to do something with my bloom effects. Then for the G Guardians, we got 3 copies of Sacred Tree Dragon, Rainbreath Dragon. So Rainbreath Dragon's skill is, when it appears on Guardian Circle, you can choose any card from your hand, call it to rearguard. If you call the unit, that card gets resist, either on Vanguard, Guardian Circle, no, rearguard Guardian Circle, that unit gets resist. So I guess you can call it to rearguard and then intercept with it. That hasn't come up, but if you call a unit, then this guy gets shield plus 5k until end of turn. Now, what's really neat about this card now is because of Marjuka, you can call a Marjuka or a Ronnie down, and Marjuka's Bloom skill will trigger, and you can give that 3k power to your Vanguard, thus allowing you to get to a higher defensive wall. And if you happen to have 2 Marjukas in play, which if you've managed to get your ideal first stride turn, you will. So you'll call one of these things down, this will bloom, give 5k to your 3k to your Vanguard, this will bloom, give 3k to your Vanguard. So now you are at a 17k Vanguard in addition to the 20k shield that this guy is giving you a 37k body. That's enough to 3-pass any unboosted stride, and you can just throw down another G Guardian and you can block almost every guard terrorism Vanguard out there. And because also your Vanguard is at 17k power, almost every rearguard based lane can't touch you because they're 16k unless they're like either running a 12k attacker or it's like a boosted upstream dragon. Like this play shuts down multi-attack decks like Time Leap and Grand Blue, as almost all the time they can't hit for 16k. They're swinging at you for 11 and 11 and 11 and 16 in some cases. Like a boosted upstream dragon is the only thing I can think of that can hit for 17k, not factoring in the trigger. So this play gives you a nice option against those type of decks. Then 1 copy of the new G Guardian Flower Princess of Autumn Scenery, Verna, whose skill is when this unit appears on Guardian Circle, you choose one of your units in play, and for each copy of that unit in play, she gets an additional 5k shield. So it's either at worst a Rainbreath Dragon, or she can get even bigger. Like if I happen to have this board set up, then it's 5, 10, 15, so that's 15 on top of my 15. So this thing's a 30k shield. To my Vanguard, it's 21, so that's 41. That's already enough to 1-pass a Phantom Blast or Diablo. So again, if I throw another G Guardian down, I can potentially 2-pass or no-pass it. And lastly, 1 copy of Dark Element Dismal for A, its protection effect, and B, it's a Cray Elemental G Guardian I can have face up, so that after it's a Cray Elemental I can have face up, pardon me, so that I can unflip with Parkour, which is of course very relevant. So that's it for the deck itself. Now as far as like the main combo play, I do have enough time to at least explain that. The main combo play is going to involve having Ahsha as your Vanguard and having a unit to Soul Blast. So let's just set this up. So here's our board, here's our hand. You need to have Marjuka in hand, a means to stride, and something to put into the drop zone for your on stride skill. So let's assume we have a drop zone to work with. Anyway, let's do this. So it's your turn and you're able to stride. So you stride into Verano. Verano skill, you Soul Blast 1, flip a copy of Verano face up, then you choose a card from your hand and a card from your drop zone, put them to the deck. Then you get to call down Marjuka here, and then you will have Verano clone Marjuka. You won't trigger her Bloom just yet. Instead, you'll use Ahsha's Stride Break skill to clone a Marjuka, but instead you're going to call out Ronnie. Now these two will bloom. This will bloom 2 times because this and this were called down. This will bloom 1 time because this was called down. So you'll give this 3k power and the ability of on hit draw 1, 3k power, on hit draw 1, Soul Blast 1, on hit, and then another time. So this thing is already at plus 9,000 power, and it is on hit, Soul Charge 3, draw 3. Then you'll throw this into the Soul and call it another Ronnie. Thus, these guys will trigger once again, and you'll give these effects to this card. So this is now at plus 6,000 on hit, draw 3, draw 2, and Soul Charge 2. And from here on out, it depends what you have in hand. Like ideally, you'll have some copy of Thuria, Saliana, or Maiden of Sweet Berry, and if you do, you can do some more. Also, bear in mind this thing's boom ability will have triggered at this point where you give your unit's the ability of plus 1k for your unit with the boom ability, so that's plus 4 to everything. And we will do just that. And yeah, again, so if you have a Thuria down, then all these things will trigger, but let's just assume not. So then you move in the battle phase, and we already have, so this line already is 20k, but because of the power stacking that we've already done, it goes up to even higher. It's 20k, so these 2 dice would make it 29, plus an additional 9 makes it 38. And if this hits, you draw 3, Soul Charge 3. Then you swing with this. This is a 19. Yeah, wait. Yeah, this is 19. So this one's easier to block. Considerably easier to block. This one is not. This one will have to be PG'd, or lots of cards throw down, or just Denial Griffin. And then you swing with your Vanguard, and you'll have hopefully have all your stand triggers left in deck. If not, then you've probably at least shuffled them back in. You can always call Lisbeth on top of Lisbeth to trigger Lisbeth's Bloom ability, and then go from there. And of course, Maiden of Daybreak shuffles yourself back in the deck to get these things plus 5k. Like, it's possible to pump this lineup even bigger, but basically, in a perfect world, if this hits and this hits, you'll have already drawn 3 cards off of this. So, actually, draw 1, Soul Charge, draw 1, Soul Charge, draw 1, Soul Charge. Then this will hit, draw 1, Soul Charge, draw 1, Soul Charge. And then this swings, and you get your triple drive. And if you have any stand triggers, you get to stand these back up and go from there. But at minimum, off of this combo, assuming no stand triggers were flipped, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards to hand, which is pretty disgusting. Again, if your opponent isn't able to block any of this, you can do a fair amount. Also, but you have to be a bit careful because you're soul charging. You drew 8 cards, but you also soul charged 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What? No, there should be one more soul charge in there. Right? Yeah. No, wait. Yeah, there's only like 5 draws. Yeah. I'm thinking of... I keep thinking that I'm not taking into account that this is only draw 3 soul charge. Like, I keep assuming this is draw 4 soul charge 4. But yeah. So you have to be a bit careful on how often you do this kind of play. Like, the first time... You can definitely do it the first time you're able to, and you might be able to get away with doing this a second time. Depends if you have any Lisbeths to put back any normal units in the deck, as if you get too greedy with this, you will deck out. Like, if it's a perfect world and you call this thing down, then that's another draw 1, soul charge 1, and another draw 1, soul charge 1. And if you hit stand triggers and stand everything back up, then you could, yeah, again, turbo yourself out, and that's not good. Like, when I was goldfishing with this deck once, I actually decked out after my first stride because I hit all my stand triggers and I got too far. So that's the main play in itself and part of why this deck is fearsome. I think there's some other tricks you can do with this deck, but those are the most prominent plays to keep in the back of your mind, especially when you're versing this deck. And of course, I can just hit for even bigger numbers than that, depending on if it has stand triggers or more copies of Thuria, Saliana, etc., etc. And yeah, that's it for the deck itself. I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile, and I hope my combo explanation wasn't too confusing. It took a bit for me to understand this at first, but I'm starting to get the idea down, and you do get this playoff on a pretty consistent basis. It's more or less like a 3-card combo of 4 ofs in your deck, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. And then if you don't have that, then you just do your typical Nectar plays. Like Verano in itself is still a very good first stride, so you can always just call down something, clone it, and just buff up your rear guards to a decent number. And yeah, we're gonna stop here, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. As for what's next, I have a Night Rose deck done, but I'm still in the process of learning how that deck plays. So it'll probably be next week when I finally decide to upload that. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching. And until next time, this is BlueStarter9, checking out.